I want to get to a point where I'm letting the market dictate what I should be doing, as opposed to me saying, hey, this is my forecast market and I'm going to kind of muscle you into it, because that doesn't work. It's kind of like being a surfer out in the ocean and you see a big wave coming and you're like, well, I want the wave to break this way. You can't control that wave. The wave's going to do what the wave's going to do, and the markets are going to do what they're going to do. It's up to us to try to get in sync with them. And if you stop fighting the market and get in sync with it, holy crap, it makes your life a whole lot easier.
So what do you do if you don't have that directed focus? And that's the book I would like to read, because I think a lot of us, if they're in our trading and sometimes in our lives, or as we age and we have different things to accomplish and new things to try, we don't have that focus and what to do. And I think for trading, I think it's experiment with things with small size. Sometimes it's making an effort to network, to get out of your house, to meet with people, to talk about different strategies, different things. And like for me, I joined a small cap stock trading group, and I tried this was a couple of years ago. I spent a good 18 months with earnings strategies and small caps, and I learned a lot about it. And I ultimately learned that it probably wasn't for me, but I kind of know what I don't know now. So that was a push I made. And then another push I made was, which I'm doing right now actually, is I'm working with a friend who I grew up trading futures with. And we use some programming stuff that we learned from GPT to develop a system. And basically the system is just a way to tell us whether to buy or sell, with a very slight positive edge. But the drawdown is pretty large, so you wouldn't do the system outright. But what we're doing with it is using our discretionary skills to decide if we want to take the trade or not, and see how much better we can make it. And is that something we can scale? So in a sense, it's almost like a way to scale, a backdoor way to scale. And that's another new product I'm trying. So I don't know if these things are going to stick, but as I check them off, it's just another thing that I kind of know that I've tried and I can rule it out. And it strengthens my core trading, because sometimes when I've lost the most money, it's when I'm confused about what I want to do, or I want to make another jump. So I'll try a lot of other things and sometimes get lost and maybe trade a little too big doing something else. And it eventually brings me back to my core thing that I've done. And then I have more excitement and more of a focus, but sometimes I need to kind of go off to go back in. So that's one thing that I'm working on right now. I think another thing is just releasing sometimes and doing less of it. And when you get so close to something, I mean, I think we've all heard stories about people who've really wanted something in their life and they focus on it so much, and then when they forget about it and sort of give up, it comes. And I think with the trading is very similar, where you have a clear focus on what you want, but sometimes when the market's not where you are, or you're having trouble getting out of bed, or you're beat up, or you feel like this is tough. I mean, it's emotionally hard. This is a very emotionally hard job. Sometimes you have to let go. You might need to take walks in the middle of the day. You might need to reach out to other traders. You might need to just take some time off. And I've found that my best runs consistently over my career have happened almost out of the pits of despair, out of the periods of disinterest and openness, and a period of despair maybe before that, and then kind of moving into this kind of empty spot where I don't really care what happens, and then something happens. So is getting yourself to that mindset, I think, is really important.
I still believe that experience and discretion plays a huge part. But before you can become discretionary, you kind of have to earn it. You've got to show that you can make money as a trader, even if it's not pretty. Even if you're making just a few bucks, if you're demonstrating some consistency and your underlying trade metrics are improving by just using some very blunt entry levels, using these price levels, then you can start to factor in discretion over time. There's a great quote out there. I don't know who it's attributed to, but you have to earn your right to be discretionary. I think to be discretionary with limited experience, that's a no-go, because it's like kind of me. It's kind of like me showing up in an operating room going, I'm going to use a little bit of discretion here on this open heart surgery. I may have read the manuals, may understand it intuitively, but for me to go in and use discretion without having done any operations before, probably not going to work out so well. And I would use that same exact logic in the market. Until you really understand the nuances of how the markets work on a day-to-day basis in the securities you're trading, I don't think your discretion's worth anything. In fact, I think it will actually do more harm. So I think you have to, for me, I got many, many years under my belt. Yes, I want to start with an objective piece of data to alert me to where a trade setup is, but then I want to rely on my discretion and my intuition and my experience to maybe help me fine tune whether or not I'm even going to use that price level on this instance. There'll be days where prices will come up to these levels and I'll do nothing because the market's not trading in a way that's conducive to that. And as a newer trader, you don't have that insight at that point in time in your career to really make that call. So you have to kind of start off using it very blunt. Okay, we're hitting a resistance level, market's a little overbought, some of these other markets are rolling over, I'll get short. That's perfectly fine. That's how you kind of earn your stripes. You earn that experience. You have to be blunt initially. So I think that answers your question. Hopefully I did a good job of addressing it because I think it's a fantastic question. You got to leave the discretion and the intuition outside of the equation until you've got enough hours under your belt.
When you put many reps into the market, right? Where you're just looking at the markets every day, doing your analysis twice a day, you're going through your pairs every single day, and after a while, I don't want to say like I know what the market's going to do, but you kind of get this. Like there's, for instance, there's periods of time where I just know there's not going to be any trades that week, and I'm usually right because it's just a patterns that I've seen so many times over the years. And that's why I say you have to earn discretion. You can't learn it. You have to actually it's experience, right? Like you can learn to drive a car, but when you go out on the road, you don't necessarily, you learn how to drive on the road once you've passed your test, right? Same with anything. So it's the same in trading. You build discretion when you're out on the road, when you're learning. And the way that you build that is by putting lots and lots of time into your system, not making adjustments too quickly, just reviewing and making notes of where you could make adjustments, and then doing a full review and saying, right, where am I leaving money on the table? How can I become more aggressive? How often was I right? How many trades did I take? Out of those, how many did I miss? How many should I have taken? And the ones I did take, what about this entry technique or this entry technique, or what about multiple targets? And all of these things can be then added into your system to make you more aggressive.
I think people who stick around doing this are in it for the personal growth. It's a spiritual, people who don't trade, this can sound stupid, but anybody can grab an account and start trading. And other businesses and other jobs, you have to get degrees and you have to go to school. So it's harder to jump in. So since everyone can jump into this, everyone has an opinion, there's lots of people who do it, but really to make it in this job and to get the benefits of it is to really just grow through all of your buttons. It's going to press every button you have. If you're angry or you have scarcity and fear and whatever it is, comparing yourself to others, it's for sure going to come up in this job. And not that it won't come up in other jobs, but part of the reason I think those of us who chose this, we chose it because we know that it's going to further us in breaking free personally on a lot of that stuff. So for me, it's always working on embracing that part of the job. And when that pain comes and that suffering comes, it's just another thing that I needed to learn and it needed to come. So I'm never trying to look at it as, why does this happen to me? This sucks. This isn't fair. One of the big themes for me was always injustice or unfairness, or things that, if you work hard and you study it, then you should get it. And sometimes in trading, you just don't. And then sometimes you get it when you didn't work hard and you didn't study it. And it just goes back and forth. And I had to learn to unwind a lot of that fairness aspect of things, because that's not how it works. And I think embracing that process and just knowing that this job is going to really do that for you. And if you stick with it, you have to do that or else you won't make it. And I appreciate that about this more. That's probably the biggest thing I appreciate about the job. So I would tell others to not shy away from that stuff.
You got to find out what works for you. For me, less is more. And on an intraday basis, it's the S&Ps. I'm not really trying to intraday trade anything else because that takes all my effort and attention. terms of the swing trading, yeah, 3 or 4 things, 10-year notes and a handful of currencies. That's about all I can handle. But everybody's different. So that's how I think you get to the sweet spot. The other way to know is that, if you're trying to keep track of too many things and you're not having any success as a trader, as dictated by your journaling, and you upload your trades every day into TraderSync or TraderView or any of the many platforms out there, you'll know that you're probably looking at too many things. You can't keep track of it. You're feeling very scattered. Take your own internal temperature or how you're feeling inside. You need to show up every day and be as calm as possible, going, yeah, thought that level would be tested, as opposed to, oh my God, why did that happen? Now you're reacting. You should come in every day and have a couple of scenarios. If this happens, this is what I will do. If that happens, this is what I will do. That's how I come in every single day. That may not happen, but when that scenario does unfold, it's no mystery to me. I'm like, yeah, I thought this would happen. Is it okay to get in here? Yeah, it is. Nah, I don't sense it. That's a very different way to show up and trade the market each day. For me, when I look at the S&Ps and the other markets, every day is simply a continuation of the previous day, kind of like a new chapter in the book. The plot line changes a little bit, but the overall narrative's the same. And that's where, by jumping around, you don't have that common thread. So when we come in tomorrow in the S&Ps, at least unless something dramatically changes overnight, which I doubt would happen, I'm coming in with a bearish view tomorrow. I'll know what levels I want to sell into to get short. I'll know where I want to take my profit targets. I'm not coming in tomorrow being bullish with this silly idea of, oh, it's oversold. What the hell does that mean? Oversold can become more oversold. So I'm not confused about the way I come in tomorrow morning. I'm bearish until proven otherwise. That's a very, very different mindset than coming in going, okay, what are we doing? I already know what I'm doing. Now you're trying to figure out while the market's open. That'll never work. That'll never work for anybody.
If you want rules for discretionary trading, just start with price points. Because here's a little example. So one of my first early discretionary implementations, if you like, was just certain price points. So I would look for a double top at certain levels, right? But if it hits certain price levels, which I'd had written down on all of my markets, I would say I don't look for a double top at that. If we test that level, I'm going to trade a 3-bar reversal instead of a double top, because if I wait for a double top, I'll miss the trade. Does that make sense? So there's certain price levels that you can pay attention to. Just draw horizontal lines on your charts and say, wow, this one's been tested, 10, 12, 15 times on the way up. It never seems to break through. Because another thing, certain price points are more powerful as resistance than they are support. And some price points are more powerful as support as they are resistance. So notice that, take note of that. And when your strategy comes to set up in that level, you don't then have to wait for all of the setup. You could just become a little bit more aggressive and go, if I wait for that at this level, I'm not going to hit the trade because it's going to go off without me. So therefore, I can adapt my rules.